Yeah, that basically was it. I want to do some rapid fire questions.
Go.
Okay. 18-year-old college freshman hates where she is. She has a long-term boyfriend who went to another college 2 hours away. A month before she left for college, she wanted to switch to the college her boyfriend was attending without even touring it. What do we do? Because she loved college before she went, and then, as mom says, shit got real at orientation, and now she wants to leave because she, quote, doesn't like college and hasn't met friends. What do you say to your kid who does not like freshman fall of college?
All right, let me just tell you something. This is the story of my life. This is exactly what happened to me. Word for word, I went to Boston College. I had a boyfriend at the time who went to University of Michigan. I was obsessed with it. I was so excited to go. I was proud to be an Eagle. I showed up and immediately didn't see the rah-rah fraternities, sororities. I didn't have a massive friend group. I had one friend who I met at orientation, and literally for the entire year, she was my only friend. I was miserable. I sat in my room every single day, bawling my eyes out, begging my parents to come pick me up or Uber me 20 minutes home because I didn't want to be there. I attempted to join a bunch of clubs to try to meet people, and I tried to take all the steps in which I thought would be the best way to meet people, etc., make friends, and I didn't connect with literally anyone. And so what my advice is, another part of that is I can completely relate to the high school boyfriend who is at another college. All you want to do is be with them. You just came off an amazing senior summer, etc. I'm sure you have heard this story, but my advice to you is she has to stay for a year. I really believe this because my entire Boston College experience for my entire freshman year was horrible. And I do have to put that out there. But I went back because I didn't know where I wanted to transfer, although I wanted to transfer. And I had the best year of my entire life, my sophomore year. And I literally think that was solely because my parents forced me to stay. They said, you need to stick it through. And I honestly grew as a person so much that entire year because I was in pain, uncomfortable, trying to meet new people, all of which brought me to the best people in the world at Boston College.
Well, it also brought you to the best version of you. See, this is an example of guardrails. If you always allow your kid to bounce from a situation that makes them uncomfortable, their anxiety increases. And here's what you can do in that situation. You can say, I hear you. That is hard. And we're paying for the tuition. So you need to stick out the year. And if you are that miserable, here's what you could do. You can transfer. And so put all that energy into applications and figuring out where you want to go. And so you acknowledge what your child is feeling. You validate their experience so that they feel seen and heard. And then you help them come up with solutions. And, you know, one of the things that I always say to you guys, even though I know that you guys make fun of me, is, do you want me to listen? Do you want to hear my advice? What do you need? And then 9 times out of 10, you guys do not want advice. You just want me to listen. And then you end up going, so should I? What do I want to do? I have another question, because I think that was excellent advice. Do not rescue them. Do not let them bounce because they're nervous. Make them stick it out. And then help them think of solutions, both for sticking it out and also for changing the situation if that's what they want. In fact, your cousin is going through this right now.
Yeah.
So another one.
Wait, one more thing though also is you always said when I was complaining that I had no friends freshman year, in terms of the solutions, for an example of a solution is my mom always used to say, well, why don't you just go knock on someone's door? Or why don't you Instagram DM someone to get lunch? And at first I always said, no, that's so weird. I'm not going to do that. Like, I have no friends, etc. But then I started to get desperate and I started taking her advice and it actually worked.
Final question. We do not like the person that our 18-year-old is dating. On a couple of occasions, they have been rude to my husband. And ever since seeing them, she doesn't talk to us like she used to. I don't trust this person. I don't think they're a good fit for my child. What do I do?
Okay. Well, Sawyer, I'm gonna let you meditate on this one while I take the wheel right now.
What do you not do?
What you should not do is make your daughter or your son or your child feel as though they cannot bring the significant other over, because I think as somebody that was in a relationship that was very healthy and loving in high school, I watched my sister in a relationship that I know she was happy in for a while, but I think towards the end, whatever it ended for a reason. But I think one of the I watched her shut down whenever we would talk about how we felt like they weren't a good fit, or we felt like maybe she wasn't herself around him. And I think that the more and more you talk about how you don't like the significant other, the more and more your daughter's going to pull away. She's at a phase in her life. She's with this person for a reason. If it's not love, it's a lesson. She's going to learn something from it. As long as she is safe and there's no abuse going on, telling her that she can't be with him, telling her all this stuff, it's only going to push her further away from you. And I think that, again, honest and open communication, talk to her, tell her, we love you, but we feel like you're not yourself around this person. Is there a reason why? Is there anything we can do? Et cetera, et cetera. Dad, go for it.
Did you hear that from us, Sawyer?
I heard.
Because I think we said that. The question is whether you heard us say that.
So the thing is when I was in this position and you were very open and honest, made it very clear that he is more than welcome over. You guys really enjoy him, all this stuff. And I think what I heard when you would say things along the lines of, I don't think this relationship is necessarily great for you anymore. You are not yourself around him, which I think is our biggest takeaway. And they always phrase the conversation less about him and more about how I was and who I want to be and who I'm meant to be. And he was not making that possible for whatever reason. And I think that by my parents always framing the conversation and putting it back on me rather than blaming it all on my current boyfriend at the time, it did obviously make me pull away at a bit in the moment, but I think those conversations about how they were feeling and while them putting it all on me eventually made me feel they always stayed in my mind. I wasn't actively listening, but in the back of my mind, whenever I was with him after those conversations, in the back of my mind, I would be questioning, is this right? Is this not right? I really love him. I want to be with him. He makes me feel comfortable, etc. But then in the back of my mind, I would consider, yes, but who am I? And I think that by framing the conversation towards your daughter rather than putting all the blame on the boyfriend, I think that obviously might not make her immediately end things, but at the same time, it will stick with her forever. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I think that's a good insight. So I got two things from that. Number one, again, let's go back to one of the huge takeaways. Do not drag your kids to you, go to them. So being super welcoming, even if you don't like the person. I realize the rudeness is a hard thing to deal with if that's the situation. If they're not in a dangerous situation, I think the more you can make them feel welcome at your place, do things with them, take them out to dinner, the more you got eyes on them, the more you have a better handle on the situation. The second thing, and they're never going to want to hang out with you if you're super judgy. And I thought that Dad and I, because I actually really liked who you're talking about, I just didn't like who you were in it because you changed. And I think that's, you want to talk too?
No, I feel like that happened to me as well.
Go say something.
I don't know.
I think I was in a relationship for about a year and a half, and it was a great relationship. It was very healthy. But I would say that I was not myself around my family. There was a lot of I don't know if sneakiness is the right word, but I wanted to, my biggest goal in that relationship was like to make sure that she was comfortable and she was happy, and she would tend to become like uncomfortable in certain situations. Most of those situations involved being around my family. So whenever she'd come over, I would basically like hide her away in my room because I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. And I was going out of my way to make sure she was comfortable. And I remember I had so many conversations with you guys about how I was like different, and like there was nothing wrong, but you just wanted to hang out with us more, and you felt like you still didn't really know her. And I think throughout the whole entire relationship, like those thoughts never left my mind. Like Sawyer was saying, like they were always in the back.
I was gonna say thank you for sharing snaps for Oakley.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I was gonna say is I think like I said before, as somebody that was in the opposite of that kind of relationship, me and my high school boyfriend didn't leave my parents alone, but I would witness you guys always having conversations with Sawyer, and I witnessed some of the conversations you had with Oakley, just like about the significant other and about how these two were being in that relationship. And I think like back to the whole honest communication thing, like you would always have these conversations, non-judgmental conversations with both of my siblings, to the point where it did, like, you were open and honest about how you felt and how you were noticing their behavior change, but like it was never judgmental. It was never like, you need to break up with him, you need to do this, to the point where like I think it almost made them feel more comfortable talking to you about it. Because like then when Sawyer would have issues with this guy, or Oakley would have issues with his girlfriend, like they would still come and talk to you, because they know that you wouldn't be like, well, now's your time to break up with them, you have to break up with them. You would just be like, okay, how are you feeling? Like, do you know what I mean?
I don't get the sense we were like that with Sawyer.
You were like that with me.
Wait, I feel like you were. Whenever
I
she
don't know.
had
It's,
issues,
it's
like,
Sawyer's experience.
No, I agree. I think that and obviously once again I'm the oldest child, so I was the first rodeo, but I think that what happened was, at first it was very, oh, well, I don't think you guys should be together, like I think you should break up, overpowering. And then I think they sensed that I was pulling away, and then all of a sudden they made a flip, and it was constantly like, oh, well, what are you and so up to tonight? Like, you guys are more than welcome to come back over and hang out here. Like, we'd love to see him, we'd love to see you, we can cook you dinner. And I think that unfortunately I had already seen the first side of things, so I was already self-conscious about how they felt, etc. And like Oakley, hid him away in my room every time we hung out. But I did really appreciate the shift in communication and understanding of where I was coming from.
We're not sure why, but our 12-year-old daughter is being excluded from her friend group. I often hear her crying in a room, but when I talk to her about it, she won't tell me anything. What do I do?
That's a hard one.
You could try relating to her, like telling her, like opening up to her first, and then seeing if she'll respond like that. Because I feel like everybody has a situation in their middle school or high school days where like something shitty happens in a friend group, and I feel like if you go to her and you're like, look, I've noticed that like something's going on in your friend group, like when I was so and so age, like this happened to me, and it may make her feel more inclined to say something.
I think another thing too is when you do broach the conversation, like even if she's like very quick to not say anything back to you, like make it very clear that like you're just there to listen and you just want to be there for her, and that you're not going to do anything. Because I think a lot of middle schoolers are petrified that if I tell my mom that I'm getting bullied, she's going to go and yell at all the bullies, and then I'm going to get bullied triple the amount of times I'm already getting bullied. So like make it clear to her, like, I will not be telling your teachers, scolding anybody. Like, I am your teammate, and whatever you need me to be, I will be for you, but please just let me be there for you.
I think that last part's genius.
Don't
promise you're not going to do anything.
Promise you're not going to do anything about it. Just promise you're going to listen.
If you could tell parents listening, 1, 2, 3, just any behavior change specifically that they could adopt today that would help them create a better relationship with their kids. What are something that you could do specifically that would really help?
One thing, stop grounding your kids. I can assure you it does nothing but make them want to retreat and do the complete opposite of what you're telling them not to do.
What should they do instead?
Honestly, like, have the conversation and explain why it upset you and why it made you frustrated with why they did it. And I think just like, if it happens again, then let's discuss it then, and then we can talk about a punishment. But the grounding thing, I can assure you, all my friends used to get grounded, and as soon as their quote punishment or grounding ended, they would go, the second they were ungrounded, they would go straight to the party, and they would go straight to doing double the amount that they were doing before. So I can assure you, grounding, please just stop. It really, really, I've never seen it work on anyone.
I would say be vulnerable with your children. Cry in front of them. Be sad in front of them. Be happy in front, like emote in front of them in a real authentic way, like how you would with your own friends and people your age. I think that's like, you're just showing them that you're human. Like, that's what they're trying to be too.
I would definitely say just be there for your kid. Like, be their backup. Always let them know that you have their back and you're going to be there to help them whenever they need it, no matter what.
I think another thing that we talked about earlier is make sure that when you are with your kid and you're listening to your kid, you make it very, very clear that what they say to you will go nowhere. And that means not to your fiance, not to your spouse, not to your friend, not to your dog, literally anyone. It is just between you two, because I can assure you it feels so invalidating to tell a parent something and then either, like, even say I tell my mom something and then the next day my dad comes to me and asks if I'm okay about that. Like, that doesn't feel good, because I felt like I was in a trust circle with her and I just wanted her to know that. And so I really think that making sure your kid knows that it's just going to stay between you two, and then it actually does, and then you don't go on your walk with all your girlfriends the next day and explain your kid's biggest issue, is seriously, like, crucial.
I'm not gonna butt that. Yeah, just have your kids back. Like, same umbrella. Trust. If you give your kids your trust, like, I think just trust. Like, trust them. Give them more. Let out the leash a little bit and trust that, like, yeah, they might fall, but they're still on the damn leash. Like, yank them back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trust them. Be vulnerable with them. Go to them. Go take interest in what they're interested in. Don't ground them. Have conversations with them. Be honest with them. Like, all we're saying is just be a human being to them. Like, you're no different now that you're a parent. I mean, obviously, yes, you are different. You have a lot more responsibilities, but you still are made of the same chemicals and feel the same emotions. Like, why would you turn that off? They want to see that too. That's the most important thing you can do, is just be a human, be you.
I want to do some rapid fire questions.
I think this is a question for the both of you.
Wait, no, I actually have an answer.
So you're saying in these conversations that we were having as you were growing up, you had that sense of feeling heard.
Yes.
Absolutely.